I'm James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is a Carolina WeatherNet special report. We have severe weather across the Carolinas, including flash flooding occurring right now in portions of downtown Columbia. Let's get you back out to those live pictures right now that are coming to us from the USGS. You are looking at flooded streets, just some of several flooded streets happening right now in portions of the Columbia metro area. Again, this camera coming to us from USGS in the Columbia area of South Carolina, where the Rocky Branch has overflowed here near the 5 Points area. It does do this from time to time, and that's exactly why this camera is where it is, because officials know that this section of waterway is a frequent repeat offender, if you will, for flooding problems. And so the National Weather Service has issued the flash flood warning that you see scrolling at the bottom of your screen right now for this portion of Richland County for another 55 minutes or so. And if we head on over to Radar Scope, I can actually show you exactly where the parameters for this particular warning are. You can see our camera right on in here where the flooding is occurring near downtown, but the actual flood warning is here in green. And this again continues for the next hour or so. Most of the heavy rain has moved out. We've got work crews, it looks like, maybe here coming in, trying to assess. I would say the water probably has receded a little bit. I feel like I can see a little bit more road than we were able to see when we started this raw stream just a little while ago. But if we ask the radar scope data to try to give us an idea of just how much rain has fallen. Again, this is just rainfall estimates over the course of this afternoon. Over 2 inches, almost 2.5 inches of rain have fallen in portions of downtown Columbia. Fire officials have told us and the National Weather Service that they have rescued several people who were stranded in cars on flooded roadways. And so the Columbia Fire Department relaying to the National Weather Service this afternoon that several drivers have been helped from cars associated with flooding like you see on the screen here and elsewhere across the Columbia area. Storm chaser Chris Jackson, friend of our Carolina Weather Group show, is down there. He is tweeting videos that shows the high water on numerous streets in the downtown area. We don't have any reports right now of any injuries or any substantial damage associated with this flooding. Again, this particular section of the Rocky Branch that we're looking at here as the camera rebuffers is a frequent repeat offender of flooding, and that's exactly why this camera is here. And you can see, although it does take some time to buffer, it is a camera that moves around. So as different officials are looking at different things, you can slowly start to see that this camera is beginning to pan around a little bit, and that is certainly helpful to get a full sense of what might be going on here. Again, this is in the downtown Columbia area. This is Rocky Branch at Wally Street, and this camera in cooperation with the city of Columbia. You can see more roadway here than we were able to before. That whole section of middle pavement that you can see there was submerged before, so it looks like the water is starting to come back down a little bit, and that's certainly good news. But this flash flood warning does continue for the next hour or so as we wait for the tributary to be able to catch up with all that is going on right now. We'll take our radar scope out wide and show you what's happening right now across the Carolinas, and you can see that over the course of the last hour or so, some of these thunderstorms moving across the region were strong enough for the National Weather Service to issue severe thunderstorm warnings, meaning that they had winds potentially damaging up to 60 miles an hour. So we've got an emergency vehicle here on the street in Columbia moving now away and out of frame. Those yellow polygons I was just showing you a moment ago, primarily for the threat of those potential 60-mile-per-hour winds. We do have some scattered reports of hail across the Fort Mill, York County area to the south of Charlotte, and you can actually see some of those as we push on in here We don't have any warnings for the Charlotte area or for the southern half of the metropolitan area, including that South Carolina side of the border. Of course, you got Carowinds right on in here. But you'll take a look at this. We had reports of wind damage in Fort Mill, dime-sized hail. We had reports of tents, vendor tents being blown over. I'm not clear if that was maybe a farmer's market or some sort of craft fair, but the National Weather Service did receive a report of some wind damage in the Fort Mill area as some of these strong thunderstorms were rolling on through. Right now, certainly in uptown Charlotte, again, along the Lake Wiley, South Tryon area, down here across portions of Union County, you do have a strong thunderstorm that's moving across the area. The National Weather Service has issued what they call a special weather statement. That means the storm doesn't quite meet the criteria to be a severe thunderstorm. It doesn't have the 60-mile-per-hour winds or the 1-inch size hail, but that special weather statement does mean that this is a strong storm that is certainly going to impact you. And I would say the same for a lot of these storms here as well across portions of South Carolina, extending out of Columbia now up towards Florence, up towards Bennettsville, Society Hill. Let's see here. I can actually turn on some locators, and we might be able to get a sense for maybe where some of the weather stem cameras are and other things across the extended area. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning for portions of city of Hamlet and Lawrenceburg. This is for Scotland County and Richmond County on the North Carolina side of the border. Again, you can see that 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, nickel-size hail. I'm going to have to do the quick conversion to find out exactly how big nickel-size hail is, but I suppose that would be smaller than a quarter, and a quarter is an inch. That's the criteria for hail. So this particular warning is going to be really wind-driven. If we put the winds on the right-hand side of your screen, this is a bit of a radar hole out here. It's really hard to get a sense of wind data out here. But City of Hamlet, even Rockingham, expect the potential for some damaging winds as we head on through the next 55 minutes or so. You can see the flash flood warnings, the severe thunderstorm warnings all scrolling at the bottom of your screen right now as we continue to monitor what is a marginal risk day across the Carolinas. The Storm Prediction Center has put a good chunk of the Carolinas in this bulb-shaped outlook. It's that green, that MRGL darker green for a marginal risk, tier 1 out of 5 chance of seeing severe weather. But if you're a weather nerd like we are, then you know that some of these marginal risk days, which are supposed to be the smallest risk days, sometimes are more eventful than others here in the Carolinas. Luckily, we don't have a whole lot in the way of a tornado threat. What we're looking at is a 5% chance of a wind threat, a 5% chance of a hail threat. The wind and the hail overlooks are almost identical, and what's not represented on these particular graphics is also, of course, the flooding that can come with these training storms, the ones that are impacting the same areas over and over and over again, as we've seen in portions of Columbia. The reason that we came on the air for this special report is because of the flash flooding that is occurring right now in portions of Richland County. Back out now to the USGS camera there in the central portions of South Carolina, where if you're just joining us over the last hour and a half, fire officials say they have rescued several people from stranded cars in the downtown area of Columbia associated with thunderstorms that brought in a deluge of rain, over 2 inches of rain in such a short period of time, prompting flooding. This is a part of the Rocky Branch here, where I would say, just based on our own observations using this camera over the past hour or so, the water is starting to come back down, but certainly you can see it is still overflowing its banks right now. Let's pop you back out to radar scope, take you a look elsewhere around the region right now. You can see up in the western North Carolina mountains. If we switch over to our Greenville-Spartanburg radar, we do still have scattered storms out along the Tennessee border, up along the ridge. So if you're anywhere near Roan Mountain or App State, Blowing Rock, even up towards Virginia, we do have scattered storms associated with the storm system and the storm threat today too. Right now across the triangle, things are quieter than they are other places across the Carolinas, but what we're going to watch for associated with these storms today is for them to kick up outflow boundaries. Each one of these storms is like dropping a rock into water and it ripples out, right? You drop a rock into water and you get that 360-degree ripple in all directions. Well, we've got so much heat in the atmosphere today as we've now crossed into that 90-degree temperature threshold across much of the Carolinas that you get these storms, you kick up the winds, and then it downstream, kind of a domino effect, if you will, still has the threat to kick up more storms. So these might not be the only storms we see today. We'll have to see if whether or not Charlotte gets any more storms, but other portions of the Carolinas, and you can kind of see it starting to bubble up there a little bit in the Triangle region of North Carolina. Before we go on this live update, another look back at that USGS camera, and even in just the last 10 minutes, when we came on the air for this special report, this intersection here near Wally Street in the Five Points area of downtown Columbia was flooded out. You can see the water now, again, continuing to recede back into its banks. It's not fully there back yet, but you can see more of the roadway surface than we were able to within the past hour. If you're a subscriber of the Carolina Weather Group YouTube channel, then you know that we were starting to stream this camera about an hour ago when all of this was underwater, and you can see where those water lines were, because you've got the leaf debris and the other vegetation that was washed up by the stream still in the roadway here. So if you are going to be traveling across portions of Columbia where we have this flash flood warning until about 4 o'clock or so, remember, if you see any water on the surface of a road, turn around, don't drown. It's very hard to tell how deep that water may go. And so we thank the USGS for sharing this view with us. We'll continue to keep an eye on this situation. Before we log off, I'm going to check here real fast, see if anyone's got any comments, whether you're watching on the Carolina Weather Group Facebook page or some of our affiliated pages. We do appreciate you joining us. You can continue to see real-time storm updates beyond these special reports by watching our Carolina Weather Net. It streams for free any place you can get YouTube. Search for the Carolina Weather Group on YouTube, and you can watch our Carolina Weather Net. It will show you real-time radar, real-time alerts, and when we're not on the air, the best of our weekly show, the Carolina Weather Group. Best wishes coming in from Belly, who's watching in Seneca, where it was still pretty hot. Severe thunderstorms in Canada. Hey, thanks for watching from Canada. I appreciate your interest in Carolina weather. So we got folks, as you can see, watching us from all around the region and even outside the country. And that's what this is all about. We are the Carolina Weather Group, providing information about science, technology, and weather from the Carolinas and beyond, like we say all the time. For now, from Charlotte, I'm James Brierton. This has been a Carolina Weather Net special report. We're going to return you to regular scheduled programming on the Carolina Weather Net if you're on YouTube. If not, we'll see you back here again real soon. Be sure to like and subscribe for further updates.